I don't think anybody loves basketball and knows basketball the way what will be my final guest here at WFAN full-time, the great Rick Pitino, coach of the Johnnies. Rick, what's happening, buddy?
All good. Getting ready to travel to Atlanta to play the mighty Wildcats.
That's right. Now, are you on the team bus? I know you guys are going to charter out soon. Where are you right at this moment, Rick?
I'm just driving to my house from practice.
Okay. Good practice. Did you bust go easy?
Yeah.
Or you bust them today?
No, we went hard. Kentucky's had a week to prepare for us, so we want to expect new things, new wrinkles that they're going to run. Also, they're a well-prepared team. They're very physical, so we want to just make sure that we're ready for the physicality that's going to happen on tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, there's no doubt. I certainly want to talk a little Johnny's hoops with you, but I want to take you back to when you coach of the Knicks, because you were coach of the Knicks the same year WFAN was born. And I'm curious, Rick, because I know you're an avid golfer. I know you love all the other sports. We've talked about them, you and I, off camera. When you're coach of the Knicks and these loudmouths start this new sports station, probably criticizing everything, did you listen to the fan? Did you hear that stuff?
Well, I have the most hysterical story, and it's true. We were in first place, and things were going well. We were pressing quite a bit, which is not indicative of the NBA game, and everything was going great. And FAN comes on, and somebody says, "Boy, FAN, have you listened to it? They're talking all sports. They talk about you and the Knicks all the time." So I said, "No, what is it? Where's the station?" So I turned it on one day on the way to practice, and this guy comes on and goes, "Hey, I'm Vinny from Bensonhurst. I just want to let you know I don't agree with Pitino's style of play. They should fire him." And we're in first place.
Yeah.
And then the next call, Mike from Bayonne. "Yeah, I couldn't agree with Vinny any more than that. This is not a style of play in the NBA. We should get rid of him now."
Oh, my
I almost drove off the road. We're in first place. And I said, "Wait a second. They want to fire me? We're in first place."
Wow.
And so I never listened to it again because I was so depressed that these guys wanted me fired.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I was going to ask you. Now, listen, we know you now, Hall of Famer, all-time coach, champion, all that. I mean, your resume is beyond reproach. But, when you're, whether it's the GWB, wherever you are at that point, driving, hearing the fan, and Vinny and John or Joe from Bayonne saying, "Fire Rick Pitino," you're a young man. You haven't accomplished a ton yet relative to what you eventually wound up doing. So, I mean, that's got to rattle your confidence. How do you not take that personally? You have to.
Well, I didn't say it personal, but I just realized that a new medium was coming on, that any knowledgeable person can call and any clinical moron can call. So you could have both ways. So yeah. I just said those two guys were clinical morons.
Yeah, and by the way, Rick, and by the way, any clinical moron could actually be a host on the station, not just a caller.
No. Hey, listen, but before we get into too much, I want to wish you not only lucky. You were great at FAN, and certainly, like I told you privately, you've got a brilliant career. When I was fired from Louisville, I didn't know where to turn. Here, my life was crumbling, and all of a sudden, I went to Greece. I don't want you to go to Greece, and had two of the best years of my life. Then landed at Iona, now I'm at St. John's. So a talent like you will be fine. You'll do great in life.
I appreciate that, Coach. Thank you very much. All right, let's get to these Johnnies a little bit. So I like what I'm seeing. I don't love what I'm seeing yet. I like what I'm seeing, and I think that you would probably assess it the same way so far. Listen, the one thing, whether it's Sanin, whether it's Jackson, incredible talents, and I've tried to explain this to people who I think they expected more right away from both of those young players, and you're starting to see snippets now for sure. But I tell them, I say, hey, listen, I don't care how good you are shooting or with the ball. If you don't play defense for Rick, you ain't playing. So, like, the first month, I think it's very mechanical. I don't think they're really playing. I think they're thinking. And now I can see the thinking stopping for both of those guys, because they're starting to get the defense that you demand, and I think that they're starting to play better. Where are we with those two guys, the entire team, the development? It's a different team from last year, Rick. You know that.
Yeah, we're not as people want, because we were number one in the portal, but that's not a science where you really know whether you're good or not good. I mean, we're not as good as last year's team. Last year's team had the player of the year. in R.J. Louise. They had one of the top guards in the country in Kadari Richmond. Zubie was great. You had Brandon. You had Davon Smith who could start for any team in the nation. So we're not as good as last year, but obviously we didn't lose too many games.
Yeah.
So I wanted to find out what our warts and blemishes would be. So I booked the Vegas tournament. We played Alabama, and Alabama had better guards than us, but we played them to the wire. Michigan, we played an exhibition game, which we should have won, lost it in overtime on a missed free throw. We took Iowa State, one of the best teams in the country, to the wire. The only game that we did not play well was Auburn. We thought we were going to play Houston. We were prepared for Houston. By all the metrics that tournament was using, we thought we were playing Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And we played Auburn. Auburn outplayed us, so give them the credit. So I'm happy where we are. We have 8 new players that really don't know each other. In regard to Josan and Ian, now Josan didn't guard anybody the first 2 weeks of the season. Guys were scoring 15, 18, 20 points against him. Didn't play any defense at all, didn't rebound. And I have to say Josan, without question, is the most improved player. He's rebounding. He's gone from a bad defensive player to a really good defensive player. Ian's a different work in progress. Ian is learning to play the point. He was turning over most of the season in practice, about 6-7 times a practice.
Oof.
His assist turnover ratio was not good at North Carolina. And what we're trying to do is improve that area, make him into a point guard, so he learns that position, and he's doing quite well at it. It's also, people say, why don't you play him more minutes? Well, when he's playing the 2 guard, it's very difficult to do that because Osiah Sellers is a better 2 guard. So we need to get him more minutes, and by playing him at the 1, it does 2 things. It gets him minutes there, gets him minutes at the 2. It also relieves Dylan Darling because he was getting a lot of early fouls, and we need him at the end of the game playing that position because he makes everybody better. And here's the fascinating thing. I've never had this in all my years of coaching. Look at the assists of the basketball team. Zubie, the 5-man's number 1. Dylan Mitchell's number 2. And Bryce Hopkins is number 3. When have you ever seen the front court, 2 4s and a 5 lead you in assists?
I've never seen that. Yeah, I didn't even really process it that way, but as you run through the stats and me knowing the stats, I just didn't really look at it that way. You're right. Very interesting. So we're talking to Rick Pitino. So, Coach, you said something before. You said, we're not as good as last year. And one thing that I tried to caution St. John's fans about, I would say, hey, I think the prospects of St. John's going 31-5 again are almost zero, but I do think that there's a chance that they're a better team come the NCAA tournament and have a chance to go deeper than last year when obviously you got out, in the Arkansas game. Would you agree that 31-5 probably doesn't happen, but you guys could go further in the dance?
We got no shot at 31-5.
Yeah.
You're right. But can we be a better NCAA team by the end of the year? Yes, we can. Because this team has great upside. Just what you said about the 2 young guys, Josan and Ian. And I'm a big Ian fan because you know what I love about Ian is he's a great young man.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a typical full of himself with a big ego. He is very willing to learn a new position. He's very willing to become a better defensive player, which he is. And he's got good size. Josan is going to still improve. And then Bryce, I've got to get Bryce to be an alpha dog. I got to get him to play like Zubie. If he's that way, if I can get him to have the emotional state of Zubie during a game, then I've got one of the best forwards in the nation.
Okay, but let me ask you this. I mean, at this stage, and, Bryce was great at Providence. He's had some really good games for you. You said you're trying to get him to become an alpha dog. I mean, he's 22, 23 years old. If you're not an alpha dog by now, maybe it's not in the cards, Rick.
Yeah, that's a problem. You're right there. It's like trying to get an introvert to be an extrovert, an extrovert to be an introvert.
Correct.
It's not easy, but what I'm telling him is, I said, Bryce, you got one shot at this game, and that's between the lines. You got to be an alpha dog. Now, away from the lines, Bryce, you be who you are.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't turn, you can forget your NBA dreams.
Yeah.
So that hits a chord. When players hear that, and they're in there last year, that they got no shot at the NBA if they don't become an alpha dog, it hits home.
So we're talking to Rick Pitino, head coach of St. John's, getting ready to fly out to Kentucky today, play Wildcats national TV tomorrow. I'll see you on the 23rd at Carnesecca against Harvard, and we're already in the Big East schedule. You guys beat DePaul the other night. Something on Zubie really quick here, and I've said this on the broadcast with Mink. By the way, Mink interviews, Mink's a trip, isn't he, Rick? Mink is out of his mind, right? In his own way? He's nuts.
Yeah, I love him, and I try to break his shoes as much as I possibly can because I do love him.
Hey, we all do. He is one of a kind. But I've said this to Mink a few times during the games. I'm like, and it's out of respect, but it could cross the line and become an issue. I almost see, I think there's too many times I look up in the first half and Zubie's got 2 points or 4 points or 5 points, a nominal offensive output. Now, part of it is that he's such a great teammate. He's deferring. He's letting the other guys eat, the new guys get comfortable. All right. But don't you think that he needs to be a little bit more assertive, looking for a shot and going to get his? Am I off on that?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. The guys, and I pointed this out, there was 7 times in the last game that the guards should have passed the ball to Zubie in the low post and did not do it. Where Kadari, RJ, who's also a very good passer, would have gotten the ball to Zubie right away. Because they all know that if Zubie gets double teamed, they're going to get the ball back. And if Zubie doesn't get double teamed, he's going to score or get fouled. So we missed them in the last game 7 times that we could have thrown the ball to the low post. So I think it's new players not feeding the big dog enough. And we talked about it. We showed them. And I think they're understanding of that.
So, Rick, if I said to you, you growing up, on the outskirts of the city and then in the city and just loving the game the way you do, I got a couple of quick hits for you. And you can think for a second if you want to, really give it the thought to give us the right answer. The best handle of any New York guard you've ever seen, who would it be?
I would probably say Pearl Washington or Kenny Anderson.
Pearl.
One of those two. I think that both of those guys, they weren't the best New York guard.
Yeah.
Obviously, but they certainly had the best handle. They had speed. They had a great handle. Kenny was a little dominant with his left hand. Pearl had a great handle going either way. But I would look at those two.
How about the best pure New York shooter? I mean, we got to hear Mully pretty soon, but anybody else?
Yeah, I would say Chris Mullin's 1 or 2, without question. There have been guys that shoot the ball great, but none in the class, I think, of Chris Mullin.
And I know the answer is it's got to be Alcindor is the greatest New York player of all time. Who's the second best? Who do you think is the second best player ever out of New York behind Lou Alcindor?
Oh, boy, that's a tough one. So Earl LaPro wasn't from New York.
No,
he wasn't.
Cousy?
I don't know.
I'm throwing names at you. Bob Cousy?
Cousy was so early on.
Yeah.
But certainly he's one of the great guards of all time.
How about Bernard King?
You forget because Bernard King led the league in scoring, and he could be in the top 3 without question. Who else do you have?
Oh, God. Carmelo?
Yeah, Carmelo was great. No question about it. Why do I always think Carmelo was from
Baltimore? He did, but he spent some time here as well. So, but a lot of time in Baltimore. Yeah. Marbury. I mean, I'm just throwing names at you here, but just in terms of, what about somebody like Lenny Wilkins? That's going back a mile, but I mean, Lenny Wilkins, no?
Yeah, I think you're bringing up Cousy, Lenny, Bernard King without question. But Kareem was the best. New York had so many great guards. You go back to Dick McGuire, who's hanging from the rafters. He was a great guard as well.
That's right.
They had so many great guards, and you think of Cousy as being a Celtic, that he's from Massachusetts, but no, Cousy was from New York.
Well, listen, Rick, I know you're in the car. I know you're getting, you're either home now or you're getting ready to get home and then get on the plane and head out to Kentucky. Hey, take down those Cats tomorrow. I know it's going to be emotional for you, having spent so much time there and what you did there. I'll see you obviously throughout the season, and I really appreciate you carving out some time today. It means a lot, man.
Well, thanks, Brandon. See you soon. Take good luck to you, man. We're behind you 100%.
I know you are. I always feel the St. John's love. Thank you, Coach. You got it, man. You know how much I love my Johnnies. Honestly, one of my favorite nights of all time was last December, right now, basically. St. John's played up at Providence. Remember the viral clip, Bogish, where Rick Pitino was just F-bombing his team? Where the bleep is your pride? Oh, God, that was awesome. I think running through a wall. And they come back, they win the game. Zubie hits a tip in or a little fall away at the buzzer. St. John's wins. Now, it's really late. I think it was an 8:30 tip up in Rhode Island. So while the players went home, I had the university get me a room. My wife's like, yeah, why are you going to drive home at like 3 in the morning? Just spend the night. I'm like, absolutely. So I'm in the hotel, and Rick is supposed to be going to Miami to spend Christmas, I think it was the 23rd or 22nd, with his family. They couldn't de-ice the engine on his private jet, so he wound up staying the night, and I wound up staying the night. And I had already, filmed some TV shows with him, but wasn't social yet with Rick. Didn't quite know him that way, right? So I'm like, all right, game's over. I'm going to go have a drink or two at the bar and then call it a night, watch a little TV, and go to bed, wake up, and drive home. And Rick is at the other side of the bar. And I'm like, I don't want to bother the guy. Again, long story short, we wound up, we pounded all night. And I mean, for a kid from Brooklyn to just fire question after question about the old Big East and coaching Bernard King and coaching Patrick Ewing and coaching Mark Jackson, what an honor. So I'm sure it wasn't one of his top 3 nights of all time, but man, it was definitely. And then like The Godfather, I go to get my wallet. He's like, basically, your money's not good here, son. Put it away. Oh, if that's the case, make it double, Rick. Like, give me the good stuff, man. All right, 888-808-1019.